Well, this is a little scary. So I've started to see a lot of videos about Yellowstone. You know, Yellowstone National Park sits on one of the largest active volcanoes in the world. Well, over the past few weeks, all the animals have started to evacuate Yellowstone. Go look it up. First they had like mountain lions leaving, like in a pack. Then they had all the bears, grizzly bears, which are solitary animals, are leaving in packs. No one's ever seen this. Then herds of buffalo are running down the road, trying to get the fuck out of Yellowstone. Then this morning I saw a fucking herd of elk is leaving Yellowstone. Animals know when shit's about to go down. I just started thinking about that movie 2012. I feel like every time I turn on my phone, it's like, is today the day? Floods, volcanoes, wars, what the fuck is gonna happen next? I'm ready to turn this motherfucker off for a while.
They sense what we can't see or what we're not being told. Here's 10 reasons animals are suddenly leaving Yellowstone. 1. Grizzly bears are fleeing together. Grizzlies are solitary by nature, but park cameras have captured them moving in groups, heading east. These apex predators don't migrate, and they don't coordinate, unless something's chasing all of them. 2. Birds are abandoning nesting zones. Once a haven for songbirds and raptors, Yellowstone's skies have gone unusually silent. Empty branches, no calls, just wind and emptiness. 3. Predators are heading south. Wolves and cougars are being tracked miles outside their normal range. They're approaching towns, crossing highways, and moving fast. Not hunting, escaping. 4. Seismic patterns have shifted. Microquakes beneath Yellowstone have increased, but not in a way geologists expect. These tremors are clustered, shallow, and strangely timed. 5. Rivers are changing temperature. Thermal activity under the park has intensified. Some rivers are heating in short, unnatural bursts. Herds won't drink, even insects won't land. 6. Unexplained frequencies detected. A deep hum is being picked up by monitoring stations. It doesn't match any known geologic process, but it's constant and getting louder. 7. Missing animal collars. Elk, bears, and foxes fitted with GPS tracking are going offline. Not gradually, but in bursts. Whole herds vanish from the system at once. 8. Dead zones with no insects. Entire areas of forest floor are lifeless. No buzzing, no webs, no signs of insect life at all. It's as if something sterilized the ground. 9. Wildlife pathways are pointing east. Trails used for generations have reversed direction. Herds that once headed toward safety now move east through dangerous, unfamiliar terrain. 10. Rangers have gone quiet. Several backcountry rangers stopped checking in last week. Officials say it's routine. Locals say they packed fast and haven't come home. If the grizzlies are fleeing and they never flee, what else is coming? Drop your number if you've noticed nature acting strange.
All life would be destroyed within a radius of 750 miles. America would turn into Pompeii. It will be a disaster for the entire planet. The ash is very sharp and toxic. It will remain suspended in the air for years, and it will be very dangerous to inhale it. The resulting acid rains will start to fall. But worst of all, the volcano's ash emissions will block the sun's rays from warming the Earth's surface and will plunge the entire planet into a volcanic winter and night. The average atmospheric temperatures will drop by 27 degrees Fahrenheit. Within a matter of months, an ice age will literally be upon us. The explosion of Yellowstone will also cause the detonation of other supervolcanoes. A series of magnitude 10 earthquakes will sweep across the planet. It will be an instant death for billions of people and the end of our technogenic civilization. It is believed that the frequency of Yellowstone eruptions is about once every 500 to 800,000 years. The last eruption of this magnitude happened more than 630,000 years ago. Could it be that there are still tens of thousands of years to go before the eruption? We have begun to look into this issue, given that it's not only a national, but a supranational threat to all of humanity. In December of 2022, Olga Schmidt, president of the Creative Society USA nonprofit corporation, published a post on her Twitter page that the Yellowstone caldera would keep the whole world in fear in the near future. To which the USGS, that is the U.S. Geological Survey, published an official response that Yellowstone is not showing any signs of unrest and is at normal levels of activity. Now, we're going to tell you about the results of our independent investigation, which served as a basis for the Twitter post. Is Yellowstone as good as the USGS assures us it is? Let's start with the official statements from the USGS article. How can we tell when a volcano will erupt? Which lists notable precursors to an eruption. Let's go through each point regarding the Yellowstone caldera over the last decades. Point 1. An increase in the frequency and intensity of felt earthquakes. We built a graph of earthquakes in the Yellowstone caldera area according to the USGS data, and we're shocked by the severity of the situation. The graph showing the number of earthquakes has an increasing trend. A reasonable question arises. Maybe the number of sensors is increasing. The answer is no. We found out that for many years, the location of seismic sensors in the Yellowstone caldera allows us to record all earthquakes with very small magnitudes, even just above zero. It turns out that the very first point of the USGS article on the precursors to an eruption, namely an increase in the frequency of earthquakes, is already happening. We have also noticed that in recent years, the number of earthquakes of magnitudes 4 and below has been increasing in leaps. This is exactly an increase in the intensity of earthquakes. The leaps occur because magma enters the chamber in pulses, in portions under pressure from deep within the mantle. Then, we decided to see if there is a behavioral dynamics by depth of earthquakes and found that in 2010, the greatest number of earthquakes was registered at a depth of 11 kilometers, while in 2022, it was already at a depth of 5 kilometers. In other words, the change in earthquake depths tells us that Yellowstone's underground activity is approaching the surface. As magma ascends, protective mechanisms are being formed. Rocks collapse above the zones of magma intrusion and earthquakes occur. The fact that earthquakes now occur at a depth of 5 kilometers means that magma at this depth has already eaten away the Earth's crust. Pure mathematics. Over 12 years, magma has passed 6 kilometers, which is more than half of the way. And how long will it take for magma to travel the rest of the path? Many times faster, because the events develop exponentially. So right now, we are observing an increase in the number and intensity of earthquakes in correspondence with the first point. Isn't it interesting that the USGS doesn't see any threat on the basis of its own data? Point 2. Noticeable steaming or fumarolic activity. Geysers act as a cooling mechanism for volcanoes. They function through the release of superheated water vapor. There are more than 10,000 active thermal features across the territory of the Yellowstone volcano. Geysers are common for this area, but Yellowstone has seen anomalies in recent years. The Steamboat Geyser in the Norris Valley, which is the tallest and the most powerful geyser in the world, used to erupt but once a year. But between 2018 and 2020, it erupted 48 times a year. This indicates an increase in subsurface heating precisely in that area. which in turn raises the risk of a Yellowstone eruption by 50 times within such a short time frame. This is a catastrophic situation. Geyser activity is controlled by the rise of magma. It can be tracked by earthquakes. We've collated the data and saw that most geysers in the Norris Valley become active after strong quake swarms. This suggests that new surges of magma cause earthquakes, which in turn cause the activation of geysers, including the steamboat. Right now, the most active area for earthquakes and geysers in all of Yellowstone is the Norris Valley. It is known that the last super eruption of Yellowstone 640,000 years ago began in the Norris Valley. And this is precisely where the number of earthquakes and geyser activity are increasing. And this is alarming. What about geyser activity in other parts of the park, you may ask? We found that in 2018, there was a synchronization of geyser activity, when most of the geysers of the entire caldera simultaneously began to erupt many times more often. This means the geysers began to release more heat. Geyser activity still remains high. The sudden change in geyser activity in recent years is an alarming signal. Geysers are already synchronizing across and around the caldera. The second point is confirmed. Point 3. Subtle swelling of the ground surface. Under normal circumstances, the rate of surface uplift or lowering at the Yellowstone is between 2 to 4 centimeters per year. However, in 2013-2014, there was a sudden 5-fold increase in the uplift rate, reaching up to 15 centimeters per year in the Norris Valley area. During the same period, there were occurrences of earthquake swarms, anomalous behavior among bison, and instances of melting asphalt. It was around this time that the Yellowstone volcano was very close to eruption. This caused great concern in the society. It was after this that most of the monitoring data on Yellowstone began to be withheld from the public. We became interested in the issue of surface uplift and learned that the catastrophic eruption of Mount St.